Hello students, today I am going to discuss the unit 1, that is satellite communication of advanced communication engineering. So these are the contents, please go through it. So, before starting the satellite communication, we must know about the cellular telephony. Cellular telephony is designed to provide communications between two moving units called mobile stations, or between one mobile unit and one stationary unit, often called a land unit also. A service provider must be able to locate and track a caller, assign a channel to the call and transfer the channel from base station to another base station. And each cellular service, remember it, each cellular service area is divided into small regions called cells. Each cell contains an antenna and is controlled by a solar called the base station. So, each base station in turn is controlled by a switching office called a mobile switching center. And now the Kepler's law. An artificial satellite needs to have an orbit, the path in which it travels around the earth. So, the path in which it travels around the earth. The orbit can be equatorial, inclined or polar. The period of a satellite, the time required for a satellite to make a complete trip around the earth, is determined by Kepler's law, which defines the period as a function of the distance of the satellite from the center of the earth. And now what is apogee? Greatest distance from the center to the earth. And what is perigee? Closest point from the center to the earth. Closest point from the center to the earth is perigee, and greatest distance from the center to the earth is apogee. I think this is clear to you. Now, the next part is satellite network. A satellite network is a combination of nodes, some of which are satellites that provides communication from one point on the earth to another. A node in the network can be a satellite, an earth station or telephone, etc. So, the network can be a satellite, an earth station or telephone. Although a natural satellite such as moon can be used as a node in the network. But another restriction on using natural satellite is their distance from the earth, which create a long delay in communication. So, satellite networks are like cellular networks. We discussed it earlier that satellite networks are like cellular networks in that they divide the planet into cells. Satellite can provide transmission capability to and from any location on earth. Now, the question is, what is an artificial satellite? In artificial satellite, we can install electronic equipment on the satellite to regenerate the signal that has lost its energy during travel. For this reason, an artificial satellite is preferred. Actually, Another restriction on using natural satellite is their distance from the earth, which create a long delay in communication. So, artificial satellite is preferred. Now, the next part is geostationary orbit. To use a satellite for communications, relay or repeater purpose, the ground station antenna must be able to track the satellite as it passes overhead. Depending upon the height and speed of the satellite, the earth station will be able to use it for communication purpose only for that short period of time. But at same point, the satellite will disappear around the other side of the earth. At this time, it can no longer support communication. So, the solution to this problem is easy. Simply launch a geostationary satellite. This is a satellite that orbits the earth around the equator at a distance of 22300 mi or 35806 km. A satellite at that distance revolves around the earth in exactly 24 hours. In other words, the satellite revolves in exact synchronism with the earth's rotation. For this reason, it appears to be fixed or stationary, from which come the terms geostationary orbit. So, now what is geosynchronous satellite? A geosynchronous satellite is a satellite in geosynchronous orbit with an orbital period same as the earth's rotation period. Remember it, orbital period same as the earth's rotation period. There are some advantages that inter-satellite handoff is not needed. Number 2, it is ideal for broadcasting applications. And number 3, it covers larger geographical area. And also there are some disadvantages. Number 1, it is not suitable for point to point applications, and it is difficult to broadcast near the polar region. It is difficult to broadcast near the polar region. So, here you see the diagram of satellite angles. The angle of inclination of a satellite orbit is the angle you see in this diagram that formed between the line that passes through the center of the earth at the north pole and a line that passes through the center of the earth but which is perpendicular to the orbital plane. So, the angle formed between the line that passes through the center of the earth and the north pole and another line that passes through the center of the earth but which is also perpendicular to the orbital plane. Satellite orbits can have inclination angles of 0 degree through 180 degree. Orbits with a 0 degree inclination are called equatorial and orbits with inclinations of 90 degree are called polar. At the angle of elevation of a satellite is that angle that appears between the line from the earth station's antenna to the satellite, between the line from the earth station's antenna to the satellite and the line between the earth station's antenna and earth's horizon. So, earth station antenna to the satellite and line between the earth station antenna and earth's horizon. Now, the part is station keeping. Once a satellite is in orbit, the forces acting on it tend to keep it in place. If the satellite's height and speed during launch are accurately controlled, the satellite will enter the proper orbit and remain here. However, even with a very good launch, the satellite will drift somewhat in its orbit. Why? Because orbital drift is caused by a variety of forces. Orbital drift is caused by a variety of forces. The gravitational pull of the sun and the moon affect the satellite's position, and the earth's gravitational field is not perfectly consistent. This is because the earth itself is not a perfect sphere. Because of this drift, the orbit of the satellite must be periodically adjusted. Most satellites contain small rockets or thruster jets. The rockets can be conventional rocket motors of the type used to launch the satellite and put it into orbit. Most satellites have several rockets to make various satellite position adjustment possible. The process of firing the rockets underground control to maintain or adjust the orbit is referred to as station keeping. So, the process of firing the rockets underground control to maintain or adjust the orbit is referred to as station keeping. Remember it, station keeping. I think this is clear to you. Now, satellite launching. Actually, satellites are placed into their orbits by mounting them on top of the rockets, which shoot them into space. Most communication satellites are large and heavy. A huge rocket is required to put it into orbit. We will assume a communication satellite is being launched into geosynchronous orbit. So, the satellite is mounted on the top of the rocket and is covered by a fairing. The fairing is usually the top, and its purpose to protect the satellite during the initial part of flight. So, to protect the satellite during the initial part of flight. Occasionally, the rocket will contain more than one satellite. So, the main satellite to be launched is called initial payload, whereas other smaller satellites are generally referred to as secondary payload. In this way, the rocket can be properly fueled. The main booster rocket is ignited and lifts off. The rocket overcomes the Earth's gravitational pull and rises slowly. If during the launch process the speed of the launch vehicle exceeds 25000 mi per hour, the satellite will not go into orbit. The satellite will not go into orbit. So, what is attitude control? In addition to maintaining the position of the satellite in orbit, some means must be provided to position the satellite for optimum performance. This is called attitude control. The attitude of the satellite must be controlled so that the antennas can be pointed toward the correct locations on Earth, Attitude control is also necessary in some satellites to keep the satellite's solar panel pointed toward the sun, so that maximum power is produced at all times. Now, the most important part is transponder. So, communication satellites are not originators of information to be transmitted. Although this is the case in some other types of satellites, it is not true for those used for communication purpose. Communication satellites are instead relay stations for other source. If a transmitting station cannot communicate directly one with one or more receiving stations because of line of sight restrictions, then a satellite can be used. The transmitting station sends the information to the satellite, which retransmits it to the receiving station, which is known as repeater. So, the transmitter receiver combination in the satellite is known as transponder, and the basic functions are amplification and frequency translation. And what is the definition of transfer orbit? It is an intermediate elliptical orbit that is used to move a satellite or other object from one circular orbit to another. So, transponder is nothing but a transmitter receiver combination in the satellite. This is the basic block diagram. There are low noise amplifier, receiving antenna RX, LNA means low noise amplifier, mixer, LO means local oscillator, PA means power amplifier, and TX means transmitting antenna. This is actually the transmitter receiver combination. So, what is frequency reuse principle? In general, neighboring cells cannot use the same set of frequencies for communication because it may create interference. It may create interference for the users located near the cell boundaries. However, the set of frequencies available is limited. So, frequencies need to be reused because the availability is limited. A frequency reuse pattern is a configuration of, suppose, capital N cells, N being the reuse factor, in which each cell uses a unique set of frequencies. When the pattern is repeated, the frequencies can be reused. When the pattern is repeated, the frequencies can be reused. So, the cells with the same number in a pattern can use the same set of frequency. We call this cell the reusing cells. Here in this diagram, 4 is repeated, 3 is repeated. So, in a pattern, the reuse factor is here 4. Reuse factor is 4 and here reuse factor is 7. Now, satellite frequency allocation. Most communication satellites operate in the microwave frequency spectrum. For examples, many military satellites operate in 200 to 400 Hz, actually megahertz, which is generally considered to be in the UHF range. The microwave spectrum is divided up into frequency bands which have been allocated to satellites as well as other communication service such as radar. The most widely used satellite communications band is the C band, and the uplink frequencies are in gigahertz range, that is 5.9252 to 6.425 gigahertz range. Most satellite communications activity takes place in the C band. There is a steady move toward the higher frequencies. Also there are Ku band, X band. The military uses the X band for its satellites and radar, and the L band is used in basically marine and sometimes in radar. Now the basic block diagram of communication satellite. In the diagram, all the major subsystems are illustrated. The solar panel supply, here the solar panel supply the electrical power for the spacecraft. They drive regulators that distribute DC power to all other subsystems, you see here in the diagram, and they charge the batteries. Both DC to DC and DC to AC inverters are used. Why? To supply special voltage. So, solar panel supply the electrical power, they drive the regulators DC power to all other subsystems, and they charge the batteries. Both DC to DC and DC to AC inverters are used to supply special voltage. The communication subsystem consists of multiple transponder. They receive the uplink signals and then amplify them, translate them in frequency through frequency translator, and the transponders share here the common antenna for both reception and transmission. The telemetry, tracking and control subsystem such as temperature, voltage and transmits the data back to a ground station for analysis and control condition in the satellite. The attitude control subsystem, here the attitude control subsystem provides stabilization in orbit. It fires the jet thruster to perform attitude adjustment. So, I think this is clear to you. Now, the next topic is elementary idea of FDMA, that is frequency division multiple access. So, the first question arises that what is multiple access? Channelization is a multiple access method in which the available bandwidth of a link is shared in time, in frequency or through code between different stations. So, when the available bandwidth of a link is shared through frequency, this is called frequency division multiple access. In FDMA, the available bandwidth is divided into frequency bands. Each station is allocated a band to send its data. In other words, each band is reserved for a specific station and it belongs to the station all the time. Each station uses a band pass filter. Why? To confine the transmitter frequencies. To prevent interference, the allocated bands are separated from one another by small guard band. To prevent interference, the allocated bands are separated from one another by small guard bands. You see it in the diagram. Now, what is TDMA? So, when the available bandwidth of a link is shared through time between different stations, then it is called TDMA or time division multiple access. In TDMA, the stations share the bandwidth of the channel in time. Each station is allocated a time slot during which it can send data. Each station transmits its data in its assigned time slot. So, the main problem with TDMA lies in achieving synchronization between different stations. Each station needs to know the beginning of its slots. So, the main problem with TDMA is synchronization and the location of its slot. This may be difficult because of propagation delays introduced in the system if the stations are spread over a large area. So, to compensate, we can insert a guard times. So, now elementary idea of CDMA. CDMA differs from FDMA because only one channel occupies the entire bandwidth of the link, only one channel occupies, and it differs from TDMA because all stations can send data simultaneously. There is no time sharing. So, CDMA differs from FDMA because only one channel occupies the entire bandwidth of the link, and it differs from TDMA because all stations can send data simultaneously. There is no time sharing. In CDMA, one channel carries all transmissions simultaneously. CDMA is based on coding theory. Each station is assigned code. Remember it, each station is assigned code, which is a sequence of numbers called chips. In other words, the common channel, the space of the room in this case, can easily allow communication between several couples, but in different language. So, CDMA is based on actually coding theory. There are some assigned code. So, I believe that these all are clear to you, but if you have any doubt, please feel free to reach me. Thank you.